Got a lot of questions already. I'm gonna have to scroll back. First off, I need somebody to let me know if the earbuds are working. I've been having trouble connecting them for whatever reason. So somebody just type in that you can at least hear what I am saying right now. Can anybody hear me? If not, I'm gonna have to take these out and say that they're just not working. Am I muted or are we good? I don't want to start talking about or answering these questions and you just not be able to hear me. So I'll give everybody a second. I'm going to read through the questions. Is that thumbs up, I assume, means we're good to go? All right. So this is all just, all right, cool. Thank you. So this is all just answering questions. So answering questions about testing, there's just been so many changes that have happened, and I've done a bunch of videos recently. Like I've been putting out videos seemingly once a week, and usually I don't do that unless there's actual news to report, but there's been a lot of news to actually report about this ever-changing situation with marijuana testing and the federal regulations around it. And I don't know everything, so I might not be able to answer every question, but I do talk to the FMCSA, the Department of Transportation, often. So I've got some insight. So let me just go back and start reading questions. So the first question was, will an airline switch to Saliva? And that is for, again, safety sensitive employees. They are switching to Saliva. Saliva is going to happen. Saliva is the way of the future. Testing is not going away for marijuana, if we're talking about marijuana specifically, but saliva is going to be the way to test. And again, you've heard me drone on and on and on about how much better saliva testing is. It's got a shorter testing window. You can't cheat the test, et cetera, et cetera. They are not going to stop testing for marijuana, even when it is rescheduled, whenever that is. All right. All right, so question is, when you have a DOT physical and you give your urine sample, will they use the same urine? Like, can you just go once and they use that for the drug test and for the urinalysis? So again, the DOT physical, the straight standard DOT physical does not have a drug test, but it can happen at the same time just for convenience. So if they are scheduled at the same time, then they can use the same sample. If you schedule them at two different times, obviously you got to give a separate sample. So they can use the same sample. Jay Moore, I don't know the comments, so I wouldn't be able to comment on the comments, I guess. Doghouse, I personally don't have a problem with it. I think really all people care about is impairment while you are operating pieces of machinery that can cause that, if operated incorrectly or in an unsafe manner, can cause catastrophic issues, multiple lives lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, I've told this story before too, but I live in Cincinnati, and a bridge going from Cincinnati to northern Kentucky a few years back basically got blown up because a truck flipped over on it and exploded, and they closed the bridge down for like 2 years. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was an impairment issue or anything. You know, wrecks happen, obviously, but that's the kind of stuff they're trying to prevent. So I'm all for kind of stay out of my business during the personal time kind of situation, as long as, you know, if I'm on a plane and you know, I want the pilots and the rest of the crew as well to be on their game, completely clear-headed. And that includes alcohol as well, obviously. If you've ever seen that movie Flight, that's a crazy movie. How long does marijuana stay in your blood? 2 days, maybe? Easy one. Thanks, Frank. Oh, here's a good question. I've done a video on the CPAP, Big Homie Trucker Woo. I've done a video on CPAP requirements for the DOT physical, and the answer is what we do in our office, there aren't any real standards anymore. They changed it to basically leave it up to the doctor. But what we do in our office is if you can produce a report that says that you have used your CPAP machine, and this is one piece of data, like this will be on the little printout that the CPAP machine will give you. It'll say how many days over the past 30 days did you use the machine for 4 hours. That has to be 70% or more. So 70% of the past 30 days need to be, you need to have used it for 4 hours. That's compliance. So then you can potentially get a 1-year card. Momo, hi. Yes, Jay Moore, no updates. The last update I got was the update video I made where I put the letter or the email that the FMCSA sent to me about giving me a date of when they anticipate. It's the federal government, so I wouldn't think that they're anticipating and they're going to beat their scheduled timeline that they gave me. I think that it's there then or later, so next year or maybe a bit into next year. Well, it depends, Mike, it depends on what you mean by federal legalization. I think legalization means that it's not a Schedule 1 substance. Schedule 1 substances are the only illegal substances. It's going to be Schedule 3 very soon. There's been some infighting about this, some news that I didn't think was big enough to report, but there's been some fighting about the bill and removing funding from it and things like that potentially, I don't think it'll happen, but could potentially stall that process out. Singletary, yeah, Singletary for life. So, so if they switch to Saliva, the benefits are for everybody. The testing window is smaller, so they don't catch people that have stopped using months and months ago, and they just swab the inside of your cheek and they take the sample directly from you. So it's always an observed test, but it's not an observed test that's like a very sensitive thing where you have to go in front of people. Now, that's saliva testing is just for now going to be an option for employers. It's not necessarily the only way that drug testing can be done. They can still select to do a urinalysis, but that'll change. Yeah, Jeremy's right. Blood is 2 days basically for any substance. So 2 days is the answer. 2 days-ish. Blood would, I don't know, I guess blood would probably be the best way to do it, but nobody, you're not going to go in and get blood drawn for a test. A cheek swab is really kind of, that's the way to go at this point. It's, you know, it doesn't solve all the problems, but it solves so many of them. No, if you fail the drug test, the return to duty process, if we're talking about trucking, the FMCSA, safety sensitive employees, the return to duty process is going to be the same. There's not going to be any changes to the return to duty process. So if you fail, you have to go through that return to duty process with the SAP and all those hoops that go along with it. So, and to be honest, like when they switch to saliva, you shouldn't be failing your test. I mean, just, you know, you gotta wait 3 days. And I know that's not exact, you know, that still means that on Friday, Saturday nights, if you got a test coming up on Monday, you can't partake. But, you know, it's so much better than 30, 60, 90 days. Mike, yes, safety sensitive employees will still be tested if and when. It's not if, it's going to be when. It will be descheduled and they will still be tested. I've never caught anybody try to cheat a test. $2,200. So Momo wants to get a CDL and you have 2,200. It needs to be corrected to 2040, at least in one eye. So if you can't get to 2040 in one eye, then you can't pass the traditional or even the alternative vision standard. And there might be an exemption, but you're not going to get one at 2,200. Big homie, it means a cheek swab, so they can test you with a cheek swab instead of peeing into a cup, basically. Audi, I don't know exactly how they are going to do it with being Schedule 3. All Schedule 3 substances are prescription drugs. So, you know, whether that's going to be a medical card or their dispensaries. Now, there are states where it's recreational, so what's going to happen, it's really difficult to say, but probably you're going to be able to get a prescription from a doctor, but in any state. THC, again, stays in your blood for 2 days. All right, then yes, as a CDL driver, I think I answered this. Let me scroll back. Okay, so Audie, let me go back and say, you can get a medical marijuana card and a CDL right now. So you can have the medical marijuana card. That's not incongruent with having a CDL. It's testing positive for marijuana on a urinalysis that is, you know, obviously you're not going to have a medical marijuana card if you're not going to use it. So, and there you go. What are you guys test for weed when it's legal in most states? I don't know what that means. Is there a cutoff level for the saliva test? Yes, I did a video on it. Off meds, but recently got into it. So if it's an antidepressant, again, these are the new regulations from the FMCSA. If you're taking a controlled substance, if the medication that you're taking is a controlled substance, like Adderall would be the common one, then you have to present something to the examiner doing the DOT physical that says that it is safe for you to drive while taking that medication. And that generally in our office, again, I can't speak for every provider, but in our office, that would clear you. And you'll have up until your next DOT physical, if something changes with your medication, to do that. If it's not a controlled substance, you don't have to do that necessarily, although some doctors will ask for that. Again, this is just how I do it in my office. No, edibles. Well, for saliva tests, yes, it's probably going to be similar. Probably for urine test, it's probably going to make the concentration be higher and the test come out positive for longer. Suboxone is not disqualifying anymore. Audie, a lot of people share your thoughts, but remember who makes Adderall. Remember who makes Adderall. Adderall isn't grown by mom and pop out in the field and opening their dispensary. Adderall's made by somebody different. Somebody with a lot of money. See if I missed anything. These are a lot of good questions. So I'm glad I hopped on here. Yeah, there you go. I'm glad I hopped on here because, again, I wanted to answer some of these questions because I get so many comments in these videos, and the comments are about the topics of the videos. So sometimes I can just jump on here and just hammer out some of these questions because there's so much minutia to this stuff. In my opinion, John Jones, there isn't going to, again, in a lot of my videos, especially the saliva testing videos, I'm gonna make a lot more of those because that's the topic now. People in the comments will say how you can beat a saliva test. I don't see any science to it, so I can't speak to any of that kind of stuff. Certainly, I mean, I have personally gone and beaten a urinalysis. I've done that experiment myself personally. I've done a full video on that. So urine test, it's stupid how easy it is to beat it. It's basically a worthless test. Yeah, CBD, messing around with CBD it's the Wild West as far as regulation goes. It's supposed to be legal under that 0.3% rule, the Farm Bill rule, but there has been a bunch of experiments that show that the THC levels are all over the map when it comes to legal CBD products. So if you mess around with CBD, it's Russian roulette as far as if you're going to pass the test or not. That being said, home test, home test, home test, home test. If you just home test a few days before and then every day leading up to that test, you'll have a pretty good idea of if you're going to pass. Again, doghouse. If I'm gonna speak very generally. If an overweight person came into my office and had absolutely nothing wrong with them, no comorbidities that go along with being overweight or obese, like sleep apnea, for instance, high blood pressure, then they certainly could get a 2-year card. Now, some doctors, again, use the old standard, which is if your neck is a certain size or if you're a certain BMI, they send you for a sleep study. That's not required by the FMCSA, but it was in a report from a long time ago, and some doctors still do that. We don't do that. Audit the saliva test or urinalysis is chosen by the company. Yeah, Singletary, yes. Saliva home tests, they are coming. The company that I work with, Exploro, who makes the drug tests that we use, the home drug tests, has a new product that will show you every level. So it'll show you if you pass that, I think 25, 50, and 100. So you can actually see day by day if you're actually going down and your levels are going down, and a saliva test as well. Manuel, it's possible. And you're 5% body fat? Dang. Is that true? If the lower your body fat, the quicker it's going to be out of your system. 4 to 5 days, that'll be tight. It just depends on how much you use, how frequently, how often, how potent, all that stuff. The saliva test will be standard for the DOT physical. It depends on what you mean by standard. It'll be an option next year, sometime next year. When will it be the only option? That's still to be determined very soon. 5 months for a hair test should be. You're welcome, Singletary. Saliva, like 3 days. John? I think I got everybody. Jacob, no, haven't heard of that. Nope, just haven't heard of it. Darian, sorry. The eye bled into my white shirt. Darian, it's a scary process. I went in when I did it, and I had nothing on the line. I just wanted to prove a point that you could beat the urinalysis. So I went in and did it at an independent lab, and I was scared sitting in the parking lot, like thinking I was going to get my hand caught with my hand in the cookie jar. You know, they were going to scold me for using fake urine. John, you're welcome. Lucian, you're welcome as well. Happy to help. Happy to help. If this helps people stay better prepared and be able to, keep their jobs, keep their livelihoods, and be smart and be safer, then I'm all for it. All right, Frankie, absolutely, you're welcome. I'm gonna hop off here in 2 minutes. So fire those questions out if you got them. And then I'll be back with these periodically. Like when I build up a bunch of questions that I'm constantly answering over and over, I'll just get on here and hammer them all out. Audie, absolutely, you're quite welcome. I'm just going to scroll back and just make sure I didn't miss anybody. I don't think I did. Your questions were coming in at a pretty regular clip where I could keep up with them. This is a nice, around 50 people. That's a nice group where the questions come in and I can answer them and I don't have to scroll back, and sometimes it gets really crazy. Jay Moore, glad to have you. Rogue, I'll read yours if you just type it in. Demand, I can only speak to the ones we use, again, from Exploro, and they've given us their accuracy data, and they're accurate. So they're accurate compared to a lab because they've done a lab comparison. So all the ones that are in the description of my video are the only ones I can speak to, the Exploro home tests. They're accurate. Oh, Rogue, I just read your, I read your comment. It's just not a question, so I didn't answer it. All right. I am out of here, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time and firing your questions off. I'm glad I could help out. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are.